Dit programma wordt mede mogelijk gemaakt door het International Film Festival Rotterdam.
Welkom bij Big Talk van het International Film Festival Rotterdam. 10 dagen lang wordt de stad overspoeld door filmliefhebbers. Hans Maarten van de Brink spreekt vanavond in het Oude Luxor met regisseur Anoop Singh en actrice Tilo Tamashome van de film Kissa.
Baji,
हाँ बुध
कौन? बड़ा शिकारी।
मैं ते तेरी धी दा हथ मंगदा अपने पतले
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
And you draw a crowd.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello. It was a great event, the opening film, certainly for you too. Rotterdam was proud to mention that there was a very little piece of seed money from the Hubert Bals Fund that was part of the origins of this film. My first question might be a bit stupid, but that's always good for a start. We will see that the film, and we will not tell the story, but just give context.
Yes.
We will see that the film plays in India.
Yes.
We will see Indian scenery. We will hear Indian language. But is it an Indian film, or is it a Western scenario dressed in the makeup of India?
It's a very good question. And what makes the question actually even more important to me is because where the film is set, it is set in the northern part of India in a place called Punjab. Now, Punjab has always been that part of India that opens itself out to everything that is out of India. So many of the journeys into India of Buddhism, of Sufism, of our conquerors, of travelers, has really been through the Punjab. So in the Punjab, there's actually a coming together of multicultural ideas, religions, music, storytelling forms. And if we listen to the Punjabi language, you might actually hear a word from the Chinese or from Russian. Kissa is from the Arabic.
Kissa means?
Kissa actually means a story. It means a legend.
Just any story, or?
Again, because of these great travels into India, Kissa has taken a very specific form in the Punjab. It is an idea that the Sufis brought with them. The idea was of a love legend between a man and a woman separated like Romeo and Juliet because of their families. But in a larger context, the Kissa refers to the desire of an individual soul for the larger unity with the cosmos. So it's not only a man and woman relationship, but it is the desire of a soul to become one, to unify with.
And this is some of the thoughts you have put into the film?
Absolutely,
yeah?
yes. It is, I think, very
you
much.
You are from a Punjabi family?
I'm from a Sikh family, yes.
And you are religious?
I'm afraid not. As you can see, I don't wear a turban.
You are afraid not?
Huh?
You're not glad that you're not religious?
No, I think I'm religious in a different sense, since I'm talking about mysticism in a certain way. I'm talking about the meeting of souls. So I think there is a certain spirituality that I would find, that you will find in my writing, and certainly I hope in my film.
So, what is your background, culturally speaking?
On my passport it says Indian, but I'm not sure.
Mr. Singh is a bit westernized, I'd say.
I think growing up in India, because my dad was in the Air Force, I moved to 11 different schools and 8 different states of India. And they're each a country unique in its own. So we moved to one place, I learned a new language, forgot the one before. So my passport says Indian, but I think it's a continent in many ways. So I really don't know where I'm from.
Are you both a bit outsiders in Indian society?
I hope so. But I hope so in a different sense. I think every artist in one form or another needs to be a little bit in exile, needs to be a little bit outside the society to be able, in fact, to see better, not to be so much a part of it that you're swallowed by your culture, but to be a little out of it, to be a little refugee, let's say, who actually can look at society from compassionate, gentle, but also clear eyes.
And are you still able to relate to your audience if you're like that?
I hope so. Let's see what the film says at the end.
But this is a Rotterdam audience.
Should we be scared?
I was referring to India. No, they're gentle people, actually.
Yes, I'm very happy to hear that.
But Ms. Somi, I think you studied acting in the United States,
Yes.
so you're not a product of what we know as the Bollywood industry.
I actually don't know what I'm a product of, except,
Well,
I mean,
it's-
I know who my parents
Very
are.
bad calling you a product. I'm
no,
sorry.
no. But I mean, I know who my parents are, and they're people who basically gave us a very cosmopolitan education and a very cosmopolitan upbringing, which for me actually really means my roots are deep in Indian soil, because that's where I've lived most of my life, but my branches go all over.
And then there's a lot of Indian soil.
There's a
And
lot
quite
of Indian
different, yeah.
soil, and I think the deeper your roots go, the further your branches can spread out. And I think that's how I feel, that because of a sense of belongingness, which comes from a certain set of values about how you look at work, how you look at relationships, how you look at relating to human beings, that being the root, and not so much about Indian, American, this and that, which is what has allowed me to be transplanted from one soil to other, and I quickly believe this is home. Like, this feels like home. Like, we could be eating dinner, it feels very comfortable. And it comes from a sense of, I think, enjoying and celebrating the connection that we all share, and it comes from my parents, I think.
Let's get you a little bit out of your comfort zone.
Okay.
I mean, Rotterdammers are also known for being quite direct and blunt.
Okay.
We're not going to tell the story of the film, but there is a strong element of tensions between men, women, aggression, religious beliefs. It used to be that we had every once in a while a newspaper notice about ferry boats sinking in India. That was the cliche thing. And nowadays it's about sexual violence, rape, etc. Is there a structural problem with that in your country, or is something changing, or are we just noticing it more?
Do you want me to?
Well, who would like to answer that? I mean,
I think all of us want to answer that in some
do we
way.
have contrasting opinions about this here?
Let's try. Let me
Okay,
try and
yeah.
say a few words.
Yeah.
My film comes out of that context. We are talking about. Let me take this a little further. We are talking about the partition of India in 1947, which led to the creation of Pakistan and India as two separate countries on the basis of religion. At that point,
Because the religion in the Punjab
the religion in India is majority Hindu.
and a lot of Muslim.
Of course, a very large population of Muslim that still lives in India, and the religion in Pakistan, of course, is Islam. So the country was divided on religious basis. However, the people are one, the culture is one, the language is one, but because of religion, we were separated. At that time, 10 million refugees were created, and many, many millions were massacred in this internecine war, actually. I think that we had a lot of rape at that point of one community by the other. And since that time, India has gone through massive changes. And it keeps on, it is one of the few countries where you will see a mobile phone and a camel simultaneously, all right? And I think this kind of contradiction is very, very painful to people who are living in a very primitive state of being, in our villages, for example. The change is frightening, and women's position in India is becoming better and better. We see them on television. We see them in very important posts in all the industries and, of course, in the government. When these changes happen, I think men feel lost. They feel that some power has been taken away from them, that they are losing their tradition, in quotes, that they are losing their culture, in quotes. Women are not staying where they should stay. I don't think that these aggressions against women are only sexual. I think it has a great deal to do with asserting power. That is why
The idea that you're losing power.
that the men are losing power, and this is their way of asserting it, you know. And I think
Ms. Sommer, do you agree?
Yes, I do. But what I would also just
Are
like-
you up for a better position in Indian society?
I think the better position for me, honestly, right now, because I am privileged. I eat, I have a home to stay. And so the question is not of just, do I want to climb the social ladder higher? I think it's about just creating a sense of a deep understanding of what my responsibilities are, having the privilege that I have. So I think for me, doing Kissa, doing this film, in the part that I had to play without giving any spoilers away, really pushed me to understand primarily, at a time where India was being torn and completely set afire with the entire issue of rape. And at that point, playing a part like I did in Kissa made me understand one thing, which I can't articulate, but that my notion of what it means to be a woman and my notion of what a man is supposed to be like is so deeply flawed. And despite my so-called privilege and education, I'm not talking about the woman in the village, the woman who's so-called disenfranchised, but and I feel that because I think a man has to be a certain way, manly, or a certain kind of man, oh, he's so effeminate, you know, or she's so aggressive, she's so masculine. Where are these notions and labels coming from? It's from my understanding of what it means to be a man and a woman, and that took a complete toss.
You were talking about yourself now, or about women in general?
So why I'm saying this is important is because this is my understanding, and it relates to me directly to the state of rape in my country, because I think rape is a complete annihilation of the other. There's a complete lack of, I don't understand the phenomena, right? It has to be something where I don't understand, don't respect you at all. And I other you to the point where I can do something like that. And it is because we've created these strict understandings of what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman.
But could we interpret these bad notices, this bad news, as a positive signal, meaning something is changing before it was happening, but we didn't even notice it?
no, of course we can't look at this positively at all. It means
The effect that we're paying attention to it.
Of course, I think
Yeah.
the more attention that we
Or is there
bring,
more rape now than?
I can't say. Perhaps
You
there's
really-
more attention. you know.
It's a difficult question to answer because the media's role has changed, technology has changed, and so that's a catch-22, you know. But the more important thing is how am I responsible for the rapes that are happening
Yes.
in my country? It is because I see and I feel that a woman should be a certain way and a man should be a certain way, and that's where it relates to me, to Kissa.
You worked as a therapist.
Yes, I
Yeah, with criminals.
did. Yes.
Yeah, but
And that's again a
but
problematic
you wouldn't
word.
consider doing that in Indian prisons.
No, I actually did it before I went to the US. I did it for a short while, but I was very young then. I was 16 when I, went into prison to work. Just to be sure, I do want to leave the country. So, yes.
We'd love to keep you here, but Mr. Singh, we're talking about stuff in general now.
Yes.
Notions about identity and change, and
Indeed.
but that cannot be the only motivation, the only kernel where the story started. Or was it really that abstract? I want to do something about gender relations.
No, of course not. A story never
Is
comes.
there personal?
I think it has a lot to do with my journeys, and before me, the journeys of my grandfather. My grandfather was made a refugee by the 1947 partition and traumatized completely. and bitter and full of rage.
Is he somewhat like the person we will see in the film?
Very much
Bitter,
so.
full of rage?
In fact, the character really comes from my grandfather. So he traveled to Africa, and many a times he would remember his home, his country. And
To where in Africa?
in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, East Africa. And much of his anger would actually spill out against his own family, And his character, therefore, will remind you of the father in Kissa. As against that, I had my journey, which was at the time of Idi Amin. My family had to leave East Africa. And my journey was very, very different. There's the ocean that separates Africa from India. And we took a ship to cross that ocean. All of us very depressed, not knowing where and what we are going to do. I was about 14 at that time. On the third day, on the deck of the ship, there was a film screen put up. And in the night...
Just like that, in the open air?
Yes, in the open air. And at night, there was a film. So there I was, with the boundless sky above me, the infinite sea below me, and cinema in the middle, And I thought, if I can keep this in mind, about cinema pulsing in the cosmos, I will never be homeless. Cinema will give me that home. So Kissa...
You've just framed cinema as a Sufi sort of wisdom.
Unconsciously.
We're here at a historical moment, ladies and gentlemen.
So I think Kissa is really a coming together of these two journeys. One of my grandfather, a journey of violence, and the other, which is more of affirmation, of forgiving, of compassion, which is of support, which you will see amongst the women in the film.
So is there a personal thing for you in playing this role that maybe resembles the very personal motivation for Mr. Singh to make this?
I think the personal, the currency for me was the sense of, I'm constantly negotiating with the idea of where to place myself. Often there was a desire to be in the center, and the pain that you feel when you're not getting a chance to be the center of attention, the center of Bollywood films, and being the kind of actor that I am. And I think I find great joy in now being in the fringes and the margins. And
there is such a thing as a fringe cinema in India, next to...
I think there is whatever you believe there is.
Okay.
I believe there is great independent cinema.
But you do need some funding from outside.
Well, it's coming.
Yeah, okay.
I have been working on films which have been shot in India, but the funding has come from outside India. I think we are living in times where we have to break the old molds, and find ways of actually coming together. And in that sense, for me, Kissa was a journey of really appreciating where I am, being in the fringes, and doing away with this maddening desire to be in the midst of the center.
Change will hopefully come from the fringes. I have the feeling I could talk with you for another hour, and I have the feeling that the audience would like to listen more to you. But we have to wrap this up.
Yes, please watch the film.
Yes, because we've raised expectations now. Thank you very much for being here with us.
Thank you. It was a great pleasure.
De nachtfilm komt uit Turkije en heet Pandora's Box van de regisseur Yeşim Ustaoğlu. Het gaat over 3 volwassen kinderen die besluiten om voor hun demente moeder te gaan zorgen. Maar daar zit die demente moeder helemaal niet op te wachten. Totdat ze haar tienerkleinzoon voor het eerst ontmoet en dan ontstaat een hechte band.
Dit programma werd mede mogelijk gemaakt door het International Film Festival Rotterdam.